I don't think you understand anything about marriage. It's because you're not married. How pathetic.
Sandra said to me loudly. She has a fiancé now who is good-looking, well-educated, and is rich.
I guess it's impossible for a woman who isn't attractive like you to get married. She looked down on me as she giggled.
After that, let me show you the picture of his huge house, Natalie.
Sandra held up her cell phone in front of me. Isn't it amazing? A really gorgeous and lovely house. You can't believe he lives here, can you? I'll invite you to our house when we get married.
I had a sense that I've seen the image before somewhere. I took the phone from Sandra's hand. Then I looked at it seriously.
It must be a huge house that you'll never be able to afford. Are you jealous of me now?
She was saying that with confidence.
The house is actually my family home.
When I told her the truth, Sandra was surprised.
What?
Her eyes widened. My name is Natalie, and currently in my 30s, single, and I work as an office worker in a company as the oldest among female employees. I am what most people call their bureaucrat. All of my female colleagues got married and left the company. I'm the only one single woman left, and I just continue to work quietly. I'm not good at communicating, partly because I have always been shy and prefer to spend most of my time alone. Unfortunately, to those around me, I am a person with a bad sense of groove. Because I have a passion in doing my work and have been with the company for a long time, people at the company seem to treat me as if I were some sort of tumor. Well, it's understandable. I don't go out for drinks and I don't hang out with people in private. I guess it is boring to get along with a person who doesn't go out for drinks, doesn't hang out in private, and only talk to others when it's necessary. But I have been with the company for a long time, so I can't say anything callous. I think I have this kind of tediousness in me. From my point of view, not being approached by people around me is good for me because it allows me to concentrate in doing my work alone. From my point of view, not being approached by people around me is good for me because it allows me to concentrate on doing my work alone. I don't need to be entertained, and I don't have to deal with the ties of complicated human relationships. On my days off, I can read as many books as I like and visit my favorite bookstores. It may seem that I am a lonely woman, but I am happy to spend such peaceful days. Recently, a new joiner came here. She was the complete opposite of me, a bright, honest, naive, and cute woman. Her name is Sandra. Sandra communicates well and seems to be the favorite woman for most male employees. She seems to have won their hearts immediately because of her cute face, charm, and affability. Somehow, when I look at her, I feel as if I'm looking at an alien, because she is so different from me. She is bright, honest, and the kind of girl who is at the center of the circle. She is probably the kind of girl that I am not good at dealing with. Then one day I happened to run into a group of female employees, except for Sandra. They were having their usual girl talk inside the ladies' restroom.
Don't you think that she's getting too excited recently?
Are you talking about Sandra?
Yes, indeed. Looks like she's trying to flirt with guys.
I'm sure she did that on purpose, since she thinks that she's the cutest woman in this world.
I heard Eureka and Fiona talking in a low voice.
Just because she's young, it doesn't mean she rules the world. She can't even do her job properly, and she's always flirting with guys.
It's natural that she can't do her job because she's new. I was just wondering that instead of complaining about the fact that Sandra can't do her job properly, they should do their best to educate her so that she can improve and be a better person. Several times I have seen female employees give Sandra the cold shoulder. Each time, Sandra shrugged and spoke to a male employee. She was probably not pretending or trying to flirt with the man, but she was just trying to be nice. I guess she is forced into a situation where she has no choice. Somehow I feel sorry for her. I'm sure that many female employees are also complaining about my unfriendly attitude here. I can easily imagine that, but I've been working at this company longer than them, and I can do the job better than them. I just don't want to show off how good I am at work in front of them. I was tired of this kind of thing, which is why I don't want to socialize with them. With these thoughts in mind, I sat on the toilet until they left. Then one day, One day Sandra was unusually chatting with the female employees. I sat up, thinking that they were finally getting along well with each other. And as I was about to walk past them, when Sandra called me,
Natalie, can I talk with you for a moment?
I stopped walking then, turned around to face her.
Why are you single?
I don't know why she is asking me that kind of question. It was a miraculous question, no matter how I thought about it. As I'm at a loss for response, the female employees behind Sandra giggled. The male employees, who had been rolling their eyes, began to giggle as well. Then, one of the female employees jumped into the conversation.
Hey, that's rude.
But right after that, she was praising Sandra.
That might be rude, but it's also a funny joke.
I guess Sandra was happy with that. After that, Sandra started talking to me and asked rude questions to which I couldn't answer.
Are you in a relationship now? Have you ever been in a relationship before? If so, how many times? Are you sure that you are not interested in being in a relationship?
These questions were not the kind of questions to be asked in public. Moreover, the rudeness was gradually increasing. The employees around her were amused by this, and they kept on asking her to do more. Sandra must have been happy to have herself being the center of attention. In order to meet the expectations of the people around her, she was going over the top. As the situation escalated, she began to mock me. She would tell a man had given her a brand new expensive bag as a present. As the situation escalated, she began to mock me. She would tell me that a man had given her a brand new expensive bag as a present. She also said that she was taken to a fancy restaurant for dinner and so on and so forth. Of course, she didn't forget to tell me some sarcastic phrases. I decided not to fight her back, since I know that it's a waste of energy. I just let her say what she wants.
You've never received any expensive gifts nor been taken to a fancy restaurant before, right? Poor you.
I decided not to fight her back, since I know that it's a waste of energy. I just let her say what she wants.
I've been going to a members-only bar with my male friends, and I haven't been sleeping well recently. Lucky you that you don't have the same problem, since you like to stay home all the time.
Sandra teased me like that, and people around us just let the conversation go on. It lasted for a while. In the process of doing so, even Sandra's work came to be imposed on me. Sandra was out of control and fearless. The other female employees seemed to have no control over her, and she became more and more of a monster. And then one day, after a while, she said that she's engaged.
I got engaged.
Sandra said excitedly as soon as she came to work. And then I got engaged to this person. I didn't even ask for it, but she thrust a picture of her fiancé in front of me.
This man is kind and rich. He's really a great guy. And he's cool, right? Sandra said as she approached me with her phone.
Well, I'm happy for you, Sandra.
I said to her calmly, "Congratulations."
Then Sandra grinned at me. Then she put her hand over her mouth and laughed.
Sorry that I'm the one who got married before you. What a sarcasm. I'm so disappointed. But she keeps on boasting about it. You're living such a boring life, and I pity you, Natalie. If you don't quit living your boring life, you'll live a lonely life as a single and old woman forever.
After saying that, she went back to her seat, still in a happy mood. I sighed heavily. After saying that, she went back to her seat, still in a happy mood. I sighed heavily. I was glad that my conversation with her was finally over. Then I heard someone saying something. I looked up to see a group of female employees standing there.
I can't believe how rude she can be.
Those female employees looked unhappy.
She's getting too excited about getting married.
One of them said to the other, and they began to complain. I was surprised with what I heard.
I thought you guys were good friends.
I asked them fearfully. I thought they all got along well with Sandra.
Of course not.
Fiona laughed bitterly.
I wouldn't get along with a girl like that.
Please don't do that. It's disgusting.
They all said so. Well, it seems that Sandra has turned the female employees into her enemies again. It was fine when she was just teasing me, but then she started to mock me. Some female employees think of that as some sort of bullying. I let out a small sigh since those female employees were also responsible for not educating Sandra well. Every day after that, Sandra continued to brag about her fiancé. He is highly educated, has a high income, and lives in an upscale residential area in New York City with a prominent family.
I don't think you understand anything about marriage. It's because you're not married. How pathetic. Sandra laughed out loud as she said that.
You won't have a well-educated, high-income person as your husband. You'll end up with a low-educated and unemployed person. Even such a person might turn you down since you're unattractive. She laughed again after she mocked me.
I'll show you his huge house. Sandra held up an image on her cell phone in front of me. Isn't it amazing? It's such a gorgeous, beautiful house. You can't believe he lives here, can you? I'll invite you to our house when we get married.
I had a sense that I had seen the image before somewhere. I took the phone from Sandra's hand and looked at it seriously. I had a sense that I had seen the image before somewhere. I took the phone from Sandra's hand. Then I looked at it seriously.
It must be a huge house that you'll never be able to afford. Are you jealous of me now?
She was saying that with confidence. But the house is actually my family home.
When I told her the truth, Sandra was surprised.
What?
Her eyes widened. To my surprise, it was a picture of my parents' house. And I am the only child. I wonder who she would marry. There were only my parents and a few animals we took care of in the house. Sandra looked surprised, but then she blew up.
That can't be true.
She started laughing.
What a joke. Are you lying because you are jealous of my happiness?
No, it's not that I envy you or anything. It's really my parents' house.
When I replied with a serious face, she gave me a look of disbelief.
I even met him coming out of this house in front of the gate.
She was being persistent. Then she said his name.
What was he wearing when he met you?
I asked her. Then Sandra said he was wearing a formal jacket. I fell into silence and thought for a while.
That man is a salesman who often comes to my parents' house.
Looks like Sandra's fiancé is a man who often comes to my parents' house for sales. I could not identify him by his face because I did not see his face well, but I remembered his unusual name. He must have met Sandra in front of our house's front gate after the sales meeting in order to deceive her.
It's a lie. There is no way you are living in such a huge house, Natalie.
Sandra screamed hysterically. To convince her, I decided to take Sandra to my parents' house. I arrived at my parents' house and took her through the gate. Then I opened the front door.
I'm home.
I said it loud and clear. Then my parents came out smiling.
Welcome home, sweetheart.
They welcomed me.
It's unusual for you to bring a friend here, Natalie. Nice to meet you, miss.
Well, I have to serve you something. I have some sweets and tea I got from my relative's trip to Europe the other day. I'll bring them to you.
My parents are smiling and happy to see Sandra. I mentioned her fiancé's name and asked my parents about him.
Oh, the salesman? Yes, he was here the other day.
The day and time when Sandra met him at the front gate. My parents were adamant that the salesman came to the office that day at that time for a business deal. Hearing that, Sandra seemed to have accepted it as a fact. When she arrived in my room, she started to cry.
I'm so sorry, Natalie.
And I asked her, "If you don't mind, can you share your stories with me?"
I asked her if she wanted to talk to me.
Apparently, she had met him at a members-only bar. He was good-looking, an executive at a company, and rich. Sandra was crazy about him. They exchanged contact information, went on several dates, and eventually developed a relationship. However, despite claiming to be an executive, the man tended to complain a lot whenever he asked to pay for something. At first he didn't complain, but gradually he started seeing that he did not have enough and made Sandra pay. Whenever Sandra said something in response, he would get grumpy. Not liking it and not wanting to be disliked by him, Sandra paid whenever she's asked to put her fiancé in a good mood. Sandra really liked him. Therefore, she was elated when he asked her to marry him. However, he started demanding money for the marriage proposal and flirted with the idea of leaving her if she did not give him money. He owed her quite a bit of money. Her fiancé said that he needed the money to start his own business for the sake of their happy marriage life. In the first place, if he were rich, he would not have borrowed money from his fiancé. He's lying to Sandra, and now it seems that Sandra has realized it.
I really loved him, Natalie.
She sobbed sadly. He was the reason she was able to keep going, even though the female employees were speaking ill about her. She cried, saying that he had been her emotional support. Sandra also murmurs that she really did not want to make fun of me or mock me, but those female employees told her to do so. She felt compelled to do so out of fear that she would be ostracized. She apologized to me again and burst into tears. Seeing Sandra in that state made me feel very sorry for her. It was the wrong thing to do, but she was trying her best in her own way. It would be several times worse for those female employees to laugh at her and look down on her from a convenient and safe position. Aside from those female employees, I think we need to do something about her evil fiancé. I won't let that scumbag get away with this.
Let me handle it.
I asked Sandra to call up her fiancé. She said that his name is Sebastian. And when we met Sebastian at the cafe, he was stunned. Sebastian lowers his face awkwardly and avoids looking at me. I told him that I would report to the company that he had misused a photo of my parents' house and that he had lied to my colleague. He turns pale and apologizes. I asked him why he did that to Sandra. Sebastian replied that it was because Sandra was wearing nice clothes and brand bags. He told me that he approached Sandra because she was wearing nice clothes and thought that she must be rich. And he didn't seem offended.
You have the same thought about me, right?
Sebastian said calmly to Sandra. He also said that it is the same as judging by appearances alone. He was blaming Sandra for not seeing through the lie he made. I just couldn't stay calm when I heard that.
You said you were gonna marry her, didn't you?
I asked him hastily. He suddenly burst out laughing.
There's no way that's possible, is there?
I was surprised by his attitude. What a terrible thing to say.
You a jerk. How dare you do that to me, Sebastian?
Sandra began to shed tears. Sebastian asked back, "What do you mean by terrible?"
It's true that it's my fault for deceiving you, but you are also to blame for being deceived.
I listened to him before pulling out a voice recorder.
Maybe you are right.
Sebastian was stunned when he saw me doing that. Then,
I can file a claim for alimony to you for breaking off the engagement, for being unreasonable.
I said it firmly. Sebastian gasped, then let out a sigh.
Please wait.
I looked at him and said,
Are you not ashamed of what you did to Sandra? You are a salesman, and I believe that the job of a salesman is to earn trust, not to be dishonest to others.
Sebastian fell into silence at my words. In the end, we had a discussion. We agreed that he would return the money and settle the fee for breaking off the engagement unfairly. Sandra held my hand and thanked me repeatedly. She apologized for her rudeness in the past and promised to change her behavior from now on. Since then, Sandra has come to adore me and no longer behaves the way she used to. She has shown strength and a solid work ethic, unfazed by anything other female employees say to her. She is now in charge of training new employees and is a reliable office worker. That is not the only change in Sandra. Under my influence, she now enjoys reading books. Thanks to that, she no longer goes to members-only bars. On her days off, she accompanies me on pilgrimages to visit some bookstores. Sandra is now a good friend of mine. And it was not only Sandra who has changed, but to tell the truth, I also changed. I have been accompanying her on her hobbies of visiting fancy cafes, and recently I have become addicted to cafes as well. I have also started listening to popular music. We promised to go to a concert together next time. I was never interested in trendy artists, and I didn't like crowded places. Funny, isn't it? I was all alone, and Sandra was the one who was taking me around with her. Her cheerfulness pulls me along, and I'm not who I was before now. By the way, my parents seem to like Sandra a lot.
You should ask Sandra to come here more often, sweetheart.
My mother said that to me. She also said, "You've been smiling a lot lately, haven't you?" I guess my mother is right. Sandra still thanks me for helping her with her fiancé. But it's me who should thank her. She has taught me a lot of things I didn't know. That's why I really appreciate her kindness. Friendship and bonds are things that money cannot buy. I believe that we should treasure them.